Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Take this to defend yourself. It's a powerful weapon. Guard it well. Only use it in times of severe distress.
This is a pen. This is a pen.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm Stuart.
And I'm Andrew.
Coming up on this week's show, we have 4 films to review. They are
The Lone Ranger, Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa, and Grown Ups 2.
Yep, on top of that, we have the UK box office top 10 and some movie news. If you're listening to us live, there's a live chat box in the bottom of your corner of your screen. Click that and tell us what you think of any of the films that we review, or anything in the top 10, or even anything we see in the news. That's actually a good place to start then, so I'll kick off this week. Okay. Paramount has confirmed that there will be no Paranormal Activity film this year. Instead, 2 movies will be released next year.
Oh!
Firstly, getting a release on January the 3rd will be the Latino-themed spin-off Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones, and the 5th in the series will be out on October the 24th, 2014.
I thought they were going to call it for a second. I thought it was going to be L Paranormal Activity.
Aye.
It is getting into that kind of level of, okay, how else can we spoof this any further now?
Yeah, the thing is, though, with the Paranormal Activity, they was still keep on saying that there was going to be one this year, even though it didn't have a story, it didn't have a director, it didn't have any actors involved. There was no script written, there was no director at all for the film. But there were Paramount.
Isn't that what was kind of done with the other ones, though? No script or anything.
Pretty much, but Paramount was adamant that there was going to be one this year, out in October. Then they decided again, no, there's one out in January, but it's a Latino spin-off. And there's one out next October. There's actually a Japanese spin-off of Paranormal Activity 2 with exactly the same title.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen to the Paranormal Identity series then. Because I think the director of that is probably going to be annoyed. Because normally there's a version of that released alongside the Paranormal Activity film. So they can't release one this year. Good job for me then.
Let's move on.
Disney are reportedly reconsidering Jeremy Bruckheimer's role in Pirates of the Caribbean 5 after the Lone Ranger flop. The Lone Ranger is set to lose around about $190 million for the studio, which has made them reconsider Bruckheimer's role in the next Pirates film.
I hope, and I don't think that it will lose that much. I think it's probably going to lose some money at the box office, but when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, I think it'll be alright. Having seen it, because I'm reviewing it later in this show, I don't think it's warranted everything that it's had against it, and that I think that everyone's been avoiding it because of that. I think once word spreads that it's not as bad as it's made out to be, then I think some people will go and see it and it will find a bit of an audience.
So you don't expect it to make the $190 million that loss that Disney are predicting?
No, unless it does really well in foreign markets, because it is possible, like in China and Japan, where it might do quite a bit, but I don't know, Japan might do, but it's because it's a Western thing, it might not, obviously.
Yeah, well, you really do need to double the budget of what it's got because of all the advertising costs as well, so that's around about $440 million. It needs to take more than that to start getting into profit, and I don't see it taking that.
Well, I mean, even Waterworld eventually made profit.
I think this is actually this one is going to be the case where it will make a loss. I'm guessing around about $100 million loss, not 190. I think that's a bit too much.
I don't think it'll make that much of a loss once it's on DVD and Blu-ray. I reckon the numbers will pick up a bit on DVD and Blu-ray, because people who didn't go to see it at the cinema, I think, will see it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Maybe. So my final piece of news this week is World War Z has become Brad Pitt's highest grossing film of his career so far. The movie has taken around about $500 million worldwide. Previously, Troy was his highest grossing movie, taking $497 million worldwide.
Well, I mean, it's surprising considering that it is it's not his best film, but it's a fun film, and I liked it, and I'm looking forwards to a further film. But I just hope it doesn't have the problems that the first one had being made.
It's interesting to see. It's Brad Pitt's highest grossing film. He has had to go through his career to get to this moment, to get his highest grossing film. He's been in films for years and years and years, yet this is the first time one of his movies has grossed more than $500 million at the worldwide box office. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a case of that. It's one of these ones. It's taken its time, obviously, because it's been out now weeks. It wasn't a big hit opening weekend, and then has gone down. It's taken its time, but it's been around for a while. News stories that I've got are that Christopher McQuarrie has been confirmed to direct Mission Impossible 5. It was originally hinted at by McQuarrie when he tweeted "Mission accepted," which was then retweeted by Tom Cruise, who then tweeted, "It's official. Chris McQuarrie is the director of Mission Impossible 5." The director wrote the classic film, the classic thriller, The Usual Suspects, who, if you haven't seen that, you've got to see it. And he's worked with Cruise last year on Jack Reacher,
which I thought was quite average.
I quite liked it, and I like he has got a very proficient matter of fact to the way that he shoots, and very factual, which I quite like, and I think worked with the kind of movie that Jack Reacher was. Harrison Ford has joined the cast of The Expendables 3, along with Mel Gibson and Antonio Banderas. Bruce Willis, who starred in the previous two Expendable movies, has now proved that he is in fact expendable, because he won't be appearing in the third one. Sylvester Stallone confirmed that Willis is out of the movie, and then tweeted, "Greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure." Shortly afterwards, news broke the reason that Willis had walked away from the movie was regarding pay, and that the actor demanded $4 million pay for 4 days' work, after being offered $2 million for the 4 days. Expendables 3 is an ambitious release date, considering it hasn't even started filming yet. Its release date is August 15th, 2014.
Slightly ambitious. I can see them probably getting it done. Bruce... Sorry, choking on my own throat there.
Choking on a bit of Bruce here.
Family show. Sorry. Bruce Willis is...
I didn't hint at that. You went there. I didn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might have thought what you thought. But Bruce Willis is has become one of those major... I'm not going to actually say that C word, because I was going to say the C word. Not the C, the swear word. But Bruce Willis has become a really arrogant actor as of late. And doing this, turning down a movie just because he wouldn't be paid $4 million for 4 days' work. He needs a smack across the face.
I can just see this being a line in some other films now. You know, $4 million. What am I, Bruce Willis?
Yeah, because you look at the amount of money that most of the actors were paid in the Avengers. They were paid much, much less than what Bruce Willis would have even gotten in Expendables 3. So,
yeah, he seems to be getting, his bubble needs bursting, really. Other news: Vin Diesel has hinted recently that his discussions with Marvel were going ahead for him to appear in one of the movies. Now it's been hinted even further by the actor on his Facebook page, when he's posted a picture of the CGI character Groot from James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. This is hinting that he will possibly be voicing Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy when that's released, but there's been no official comment yet from Marvel.
He's constantly saying that he's involved with a Marvel film, but every single time when he says that, he gets shot down again. You think he's just trying to big himself up a little bit because Riddick's coming out?
No, I don't think that's the case, but I think if he's not got a job with Marvel, that he's pushing for it, and I think that's possibly why. But I am surprised that we've not had anything official yet from Marvel. Knowing our luck, we'll have something announced just after we finish the show tonight, because that always seems to happen.
Probably, yeah. I'm going to keep an eye on IMDb or something like that, just in case it does happen.
Yeah. My final piece of news is that John Feltham, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or not, CEO of Lionsgate, has confirmed that the studio is moving forward with a sequel to Now You See Me. There's been no mention if anyone involved with the first film will be in returning, but the first movie looks to make around $275 million from a budget of around about $75 million, so a sequel is inevitable. The sequel is expected to be ready to be released, believe it or not, in 2015.
Well, that's a good way to go into the box office top 10, because at number 10 is Now You See Me.
Yeah, which I enjoyed perfectly fine. Thought it was quite well put together. I can understand why it's hung around as long as it has, but the ending for me is where it completely fell apart, and it really... I've said this before. It gets to a certain point in the film where it's winding down for the end, And I honestly thought, you're not going to do this, are you? And it happened. The thing that I predicted happened. I really was like, oh, you had to do that. You could have done anything else, and it would have been better.
Number 9 is A New Entry for Only God Forgives,
which I liked, although I didn't like it as much as Nicholas Winding Refn and Ryan Gosling's last film together, Drive, which I absolutely loved. This, I think, it's definitely got the kind of OCD version of Nicholas Winding Refn's filming, of everything being very stylized. It's hyper stylized beyond belief. Ryan Gosling, if anything, does even less in his performance than he did in Drive, but still does so much more. The thing that's really outstanding and really worth seeing it for is the vile character played by Kristen Scott Thomas with so much relish that she absolutely just lights up the screen when she's on it. She's honestly such a horrible character, but you just want to watch her. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling is a cardboard cutout. I said this on following the Nerds Box Office Top 10 when I was on there on Thursday, that he reminded me more of, that ghost cutout in Three Men and a Little Baby.
It's not a ghost cutout!
That acting was better than Ryan Gosling's acting in this film.
That's one of those movie myths that's not true. Everyone going, there's a ghost on the set of a boy who killed himself.
Yeah,
and it's not. It's the
cutout of Ted Danson.
Ted Danson, yeah.
I know that, but that acting is better than Ryan Gosling's in Only God Forgives. It is. Nicholas Winding Refn's obsessed with red. Majorly obsessed with red. He just needs to tone it down a lot.
The colour is a bit more. I'm just going to say, I think Gosling is not as good in this film because of the fact of that he's playing basically the same character but with less emotion. And considering in the last film, pretty much all he had was emotion. That's really why it doesn't come across as well, I don't think.
And number 8 is The World's End,
which is good but disappointing for an end to the Cornetto trilogy of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and this. It's enjoyable. I liked it. I laughed a lot. It has problems with things like there's fights with robots which are far too choreographed and they don't really work for me in it. And the characters work for sort of the first half of the film, and then the last half of the film and the ending really didn't work for me.
Yeah, but number 7 is Nicholas Winding Refn's favourite sequel, Red 2.
Can you imagine Red if it had been directed by Nicholas Winding Refn?
No thanks.
I think it's Red 2. The first Red, it was good, it was fun. It wasn't outstanding, but it was a surprise because of the fact that it was a surprise hit. You weren't expecting it. This one, obviously, you're expecting it a bit with the first one, so it's not as good. It's not quite as well put together. It's not quite as well wacky, but it is okay. It's kind of just more of the same, but not quite as good.
Number 6 is Despicable Me 2.
I mean, what more can we say? Absolutely fantastic. Possibly the best animated film this year.
And probably going to be the highest grossing film in the UK this year so far. And number 5 is Monsters University,
which I found really lacking, really disappointing. Feels kind of like a montage stretched out for 90 minutes. It's nowhere near the magic and the imagination of Monsters Inc., which is, I mean, literally, if you go and see Monsters University and you think it's good, as a lot of people have been saying, I'm telling you right now, afterwards, go and watch Monsters Inc. again, and then you'll realise just how bad Monsters University is.
Yep, but number 4 is The Wolverine,
which is, again, I mean, for a sequel sort of spin-off thing, it's not really a direct sequel to Wolverine, Origins Wolverine, but it's the one that it's most like, and it's better than that film, but that doesn't take much. Has a good action sequence in the middle, but it's filled with so many problems. If you want to know in detail, my review is on mondamovieshow.co.uk. You'll find out a full detail in there of exactly what I think is wrong with this film and why the ending is the best thing about it.
Yeah, the bit in between the credits. But even though those people aren't following the nerd didn't like that neither, they thought it was cheesy.
Yeah, well, a thing that surprised me is I heard someone say about that someone at a cinema, working at a cinema when they went to get a ticket for this, was told by the staff, stay during the credits because there is an end credit bit, which I think is really good.
And number 3 is a new entry for The Conjuring.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, and I doubt that I will be seeing it.
Yeah, just want to quickly get onto this comment here from, I'm guessing it's Bouncy from Where the Holocaust. Pixar should take a break for a few years. Far too many misses. Great shorts, though. They need to stop the path towards Money Machine.
Oh, but even the short before Monsters University was not good. It's the worst of all their shorts that they have. It's the Blue Umbrella one, which the short, which I think we put on the website before.
You're talking about the Paperman.
Yeah, that's
short.
before. That wasn't Pixar, though, was it? Thinking about it now.
No.
But that's the kind of thing that kind of has stolen the magic from Pixar. It's gone over to Disney, and which is why I'm kind of curious with Planes. I wasn't curious with Planes before. I had no interest in Planes. When I found out Planes upcoming, the spin-off from Cars is not Pixar and is just Disney, basically the company, the studio that did Wreck-It Ralph. I'm kind of curious now to see whether or not the magic and the talent is now with them, and if it will come through on Planes.
Yeah, well, under The Conjuring at number 3, and not Monsters University or Planes, which Planes will be reviewing next week probably. It's James Wan's second to last horror film. His next one is Insidious Part 2, which is out in September the 13th. It's a checklist of your typical things that you expect in this kind of movie, but it's still handled really well because James Wan has that eye for detail, for putting you in an era and doing a horror movie really well in that era. In this case, it's in the 70s. It follows the Warrens who did the Amityville Haunting, and it is based supposedly on a true story. Take that with a pinch of sugar. Skeptical people will.
Pinch of sugar,
still,
pinch of salt, isn't it?
A pinch of sugar in this case. You need to have it slightly sweeter rather than sour. But yeah, it's a good film. It's a really good film, but it's a checklist of horror cliches. And number 2 is a new entry for The Heat.
Which, talking about a checklist of cliches, literally this is taking scenes from every 80s buddy cop movie, odd couple movie, gelled them all together into one film, and instead of having 2 guys playing it, it's 2 girls playing it. It's not particularly funny. It's not especially well put together because it seems to jump from scene to scene, like I say, literally from one film to another. It's kind of like it's a Frankenstein. It's been put together with all these pieces from other films with no connectivity tissue between them.
2 girls on Heat, lovely. And finally, a new entry at number 1 for the Smurfs 2.
You had a go at me for the Bruce Willis comment earlier. Smurfs 2. I haven't seen this, but you have.
Unfortunately, yes, I have. I slightly defended it a little bit because this movie is solely set for anybody under the age of 8. It's not for anybody else, and you're probably wondering why have I seen it, because I was dragged to see it. There was a 5-year-old there as well, so what do you expect? He wanted to see the Smurfs, and so I thought, why not? But yeah, it is specifically aimed at children under the age of 8. The jokes are so just bad. They are really, really bad. It's not funny at all. There is one scene in the movie where one of the naughties lands on a fence with his legs open, and he goes, "Look, I'm a real boy." That's the only part that actually made me laugh, sort of.
Did he do it in that kind of voice?
Pretty much, yeah. It's badly made. The jokes are really flat. Hank Azaria's Gargamel is quite scary actually for young children, considering his character, but it's terrible. I don't think you probably expected anything better than that, to be honest. So actually, from you, that's kind of a positive thing. What? That it's terrible.
No, that Smurfs 2. I mean, it's terrible from what you're talking about. That doesn't sound like it was that bad as you were expecting it to be.
It pretty much is that bad than I expected it to be. But it is solely aimed at children under the age of 8. There are better films out there for them, though. Right, time to go for a break, and after that we'll have our first review.
Hey folks, it's Al the Bald Gamer Dude from Menage a Geek Podcast, and I'm here to ask you, what do you want in a podcast? Is it talking? Is it funny stuff? Is it 2 guys and a girl having a chat? Is it video game news? Is it movie news? Is it TV stuff? Is it just geek all out your ears and into your brain? If it is, then why are you not listening to us? We're on Spreaker, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Twitter, all Menage a Geek. Menage a Geek. Listen to us.
Hi, this is Ben Lloyd Holmes from monster movie The Expedition. Come find us on Twitter and Facebook at Expedition Movie. You're listening to Movie Mondays.
Welcome back. It's time to go into our first review of the week. I was going to say night, but it's the week because people do listen to it on podcasts as well.
Okay, fair enough. The Lone Ranger, which is directed by Gore Verbinski, who is the director of Pirates of the Caribbean, the first three films. It does have, surprisingly, Johnny Depp in it as Tonto. And you have Arnie Hammer, who plays John Reed. The movie starts in 1930s, where you have at a fairground. There is a aged Tonto, elderly Tonto, played by Johnny Depp with some amazing makeup on him, who is telling this young boy who's dressed up as his hero, the Lone Ranger, how he knew the real Lone Ranger, the man who created the legend, and how he met him, and how things came about that when the Lone Ranger, before he was the Lone Ranger, John Reed was brought into the U.S. Marshals by U.S. Marshals, I think, the Rangers, the Texas Rangers even, brought into the Texas Rangers by his brother to be part of a posse and hunt after a particularly bad man played by William Fichtner, who plays Butch Cavendish. The movie then takes a slight turn for the worst when all the posse is killed, including John Reed, it appears, until he's actually rescued and awakes to find that he has been resurrected somewhat after being buried by Tonto, and is now the ghost who walks. And Tonto tells him that this man, Cavendish, who both of them actually want to get revenge on for obvious things. John Reed wants to get revenge on him for killing his brother. Tonto wants to get revenge on him for something else, which is explained in the movie. That in order to do so, he's going to have to protect people that he cares about and friends. And to do so, he's going to have to wear a mask. Here's a clip.
It's my brother's vest.
Eyes cut by the bullets that killed him. From the great beyond, he will protect you. And the ones you love.
You want me to wear a mask?
The men you seek think you are dead, Kimosabe. Better to stay that way.
All right. But if we ride together, it's to bring these men to justice in a court of law. Is that understood?
Justice is what I seek, Kimosabe.
Now, I've had some feedback from David Barber in the chat. Hello to David, who's been commenting about this. He says that he's come up with a brilliant idea. Actually, he said Pirates of the Wild West, which is kind of quite apt, and saying Depp tries to steal the show, I hear. Well, he kind of does, but kind of doesn't, because it's the thing with The Lone Ranger is that it's 2 hours and 29 minutes in length. Okay, it's far too long for what it is. It should be at the most 2 hours long, because it's a 12 rated film. It's for kids, but with adults as well. Here's the thing with it. It's basically a mishmash of two westerns put together. In one western, it is a very dark, gritty, very good looking western, which you see especially in the first half hour of it. And as the movie goes on, it starts to mismatch between the two, where it then kind of looks in the mirror and goes, oh, hang on a minute, we've got Johnny Depp here. We need to make him the star and have it a big blockbuster thing because we have a $190 million budget. And that is where it has a problem, because of the fact that it goes back and forth between these two types throughout the film. It has a really good, gritty, really good Western vibe going for it, with Arnie Hammer's character as the main character, and then decides to throw in a big, and I mean big, sort of action sequence with Johnny Depp as the central part of the action sequences. And it's basically Johnny Depp is doing Captain Jack Sparrow, but as an Indian. He's very much the same kind of thing he's doing, where he's not forthcoming with what he's doing. He's very sort of all over the place when he's walking around. He's very that kind of similar physical humour, which works in the part, but it's all the way through. You're thinking, I've seen him doing this in Pirates of the Caribbean 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whichever one it is you think of at the time. In particular, especially, there's a sequence right near the beginning of the film on top of a train where a joke, and I'm not kidding, a joke and a gag is used, which is right out of the first Pirates film, and it's just him doing exactly the same thing. If it wasn't for Johnny Depp being in it, and I think if they hadn't hired Gore Verbinski, it would have not had this similarity, and that would not have had that problem. Other things it has a problem with are you've got in there other characters like Ruth Wilson makes an appearance as the wife of John Reed's brother. You've also got Helena Bonham Carter turns up as a madam who knows things, and they go to her for information, and she's got this mysterious thing about she's lost a leg because of something to do with her past and another character's past. And it's really unnecessary, takes far too long, could have been cut out, should have been cut out, would have been better. But that said, surprisingly, I quite enjoyed this. I like the action sequences. I wish it was better connected, better structured between these two halves of the film so they worked as one film. But the surprising thing is, right at the end, there is a, not kidding, half an hour sequence at the end, which is one big action sequence, and it's rather fun. And it's, honestly, I was like, kind of, at this point, I was like, this is surprisingly fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. Even though my knees were killing me because I've been sitting for 2.5 hours, plus the half hour before the film with adverts and stuff. But I'm saying, basically, if you like these kind of films, see it. It's fun. It's worth seeing. If you don't like Westerns, then avoid it. If you have an interest in Westerns, then see it, because there is something here worth seeing. It's worth your money. But it's not going to be as good as you might think with other Western films that have come before.
Mate, I have no time for any comments, so next up is Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. The Sea of Monsters, or Sea of Monsters.
I think it's just Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, it's the sequel to Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I think it's something like 5 books in the series, 6 books in the series, so this is the second one. It's directed by Thor Freudenthal. It's an awesome name. And it's written by Mark Guggenheim. Best 2 names read out for quite a while. It stars Logan Lerman, who plays Percy Jackson. Him and his friends, Annabeth and Tyson, are at summer camp for Half-Bloods. This is a camp where supposed descendants of gods or people who have got some kind of power in some way, shape or form go to summer camp to learn their skills and things like that. It's alluded to in the first film. This summer camp is actually protected by a huge, massive force field, and at the start of the film we learn how this force field was actually created. The daughter of Zeus, she sacrificed herself and she became this tree which protects the camp itself. Unfortunately, in this camp, Percy isn't seemed to be the high up. He thinks that he is after the things that he managed to do in the first movie. As a matter of fact, he's there's a person who's actually goes up against him all the time, who's Clarice. She's a really cocky person, and she seems to be the high up one. Percy thinks that with him being a son of a god, a half son of a god, then he could be alluded to be the higher up. However, he discovers that he does have a half brother. Here's a clip.
Don't worry, it's just Mr. D. I mean, if Chiron had summoned you, then you're so massively screwed.
Whatever it is you think I did, I didn't do it.
You've done nothing, Percy.
Exactly.
As you know, you are believed to be Poseidon's only heir.
Yeah, so?
So it would seem that belief has been held in error?
Hold on, you're saying Percy has a brother?
Or a sister.
Holy sticks. Another Poseidon half-blood.
Not exactly. Technically, Tyson's not a half-blood. Half-bloods are half-human, hence the name.
I don't get it. If this new kid's not half-human, then what other half is he?
Nymph. Sea nymph? And when you cross a deity with a nymph, you get...
It's a Gewürztraminer. Just don't... Hi. Hi, brother.
So after Percy learns that he's got a half-brother, the camp itself is attacked, the tree is poisoned, and they need to try and find a cure for the tree. Percy's friend, Annabeth, comes up with an idea of hunting down for the Golden Fleece. It's shot down at first, but then it's brought up the next morning, and Clarice, along with her sidekick, gets told to go out and look for it. But Percy thinks that this is the perfect time for him to go out with his 2 pals to try and hunt down the Golden Fleece to bring this tree back, so they can get the protection of their camp back up and running again. Now, as you can guess from that storyline there, it's very weak. having a storyline where they've just got to go and get the Golden Fleece to resurrect a tree so their camp can be protected is clutching at straws for a storyline. And unfortunately, with Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, that is the case. With the first one, you sort of had an epic journey across the globe, and it felt more like an 80s movie. This is trying its hardest to be like an 80s adventure movie, but fails on practically every step it takes. There is no excitement in this. When it tries to build up a set piece, it just fizzles out. There's a brilliant set piece, which you might have seen in the trailer, where they actually do get to the Sea of Monsters, and there is a huge, massive monster they think is sharks coming out from the sea, and you're expecting this is going to be a massive set piece lasting about 20 minutes with some brilliant special effects, etc., and it just fizzles. There isn't any excitement in it at all. The movie lacks excitement, and if you want an adventure like this, you need the excitement there, like the first one had in it. But this one, it just fails on that. The performances are fine. There is no huge, massive stars that make cameos in this one like they did in the first one. But you do have Anthony Eden there, and you do have Stanley Tucci as well, and Nathan Fillion crops up in a tiny little scene, which is the funniest of the movie. But it's Nathan Fillion playing a stereotypical Nathan Fillion kind of character. So
and did you get the reference to Firefly? Yeah,
I was the only one on my screening who did, which made me feel slightly dead inside that nobody else laughed at it. But yeah, it's a very weak sequel to the first movie, which actually had a foundation where I was thinking this series might be quite enjoyable. Unfortunately, the second one has gone and ruined that.
I didn't find it as negatively, I think, as you have. I don't dislike it. I don't really love it. I don't really love the first one, but the first one's kind of average but okay. This one is just average but okay, but lacking that magic, that childhood magic that Chris Columbus brings to the first one, I think. So I'm kind of hopefully that it does all right, because I do want to see more of them.
Yeah. It's a series that's trying to take over Harry Potter. I wasn't going to make the same kind of similarities that a lot of people have been making between Percy Jackson and Harry Potter, but it's a series that's trying to take over that. But the next movie has to be stronger than this one to be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. The next movie is Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa, which is directed by Declan Lowley, and it's starring Steve Coogan as the character Alan Partridge, who, if you don't know who Alan Partridge is, then really go and have a look online. Look on YouTube, you'll find hundreds of clips from the character over the years. The movie has him as he's working at a radio station where things are sort of going okay until it turns out that there's a new company has come in and bought the radio station, then updating it and bringing it to sort of modernising it a bit. Changing all of the things to be a new name and a new vibrant thing. As part of the shake-up, at risk are some of the DJs, including Alan Partridge, and another DJ played by Cole Meany called Pat Farrell. And he sort of says to him, you know, we're kind of risking being on the chopping board here. We need to do something to try and convince them to keep us around. So what Alan does is he goes into the middle of a meeting and has a discussion with them. Here's a clip.
Hi guys, don't want to be an agenda bender, but any chance of that?
Oh, it's actually not a good time, Alan. No, it's fine, we've got time. Come in. Oh, yeah, because we moved the other thing that we need to free up this. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah. Alan Partridge.
Jason Tresswell, MD of Gordell Media.
Right. By the way, it's not Alan Partridge, it's Alan, Alan Partridge. I know some people do have two names.
Yes, Zsa Zsa Gabor, for instance.
Yes,
Duran, they'd say something like that.
Yeah, that's not good. Chris Tofferson. Excellent small talk. Gentlemen, to business. Okay, I am here as one of the more senior D-jocks at this station. We're going to talk about jobs. A Nazi officer, this, isn't it? Should snap my heels together here. Achtung!
Guten Tag.
Silence! Sorry, I had to miss you.
So what happens then is that Pat is unfortunately fired. He's the only one who's fired. And at the relaunching of the radio station that night, there's a party. Pat turns up with a shotgun and takes everyone hostage except for Alan, who manages to escape, goes to the police, but is then called back into the situation because Pat, thinking that Alan is his best friend, calls him in to actually be his go-between between him and the police. Here's the thing with Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa. I'm not a fan of Steve Coogan. I don't particularly like the Alan Partridge character, but I agreed that I would go and see this film to review it. And the thing is, I absolutely loved this. I was laughing pretty much all the way through. There are hundreds of little gags in there, and there's brilliant sort of just good humour in this that you heard in that clip where you can't see it because it's an audio clip, but he's taking off his glove and he looks like a Gestapo and he makes joy, and that just came out brilliantly in it, as does the whole film. It's really nicely put together. It's surprisingly fun. It doesn't get boring at any time. It's only 90 minutes long, and it doesn't even feel like it's stretched out or anything for that. And I'm honestly cannot believe that I'm saying this, but go and see this film, even if you don't like Alan Partridge or Steve Coogan, because it's surprisingly funny, and I laughed my backside off.
Gordon the Booger in the live chat, he's got a question for you. Monkey tennis?
Yeah, that's a thing that has been on an advert on television, not for this, but for something else with the Alan Partridge character in it from the week. So I'm presuming that's a link to that. But seriously, I mean, I don't like the character. I'm not a fan of it in TV, but it seems to work on the big screen, and I was surprised how much it worked, and that I honestly sat through it and I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting here laughing as much as I am. I'm really enjoying this.
Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this next film. Grown Ups 2, it's directed by Dennis Dugan. Now, normally we would probably go into describing the plot of the film. This has nothing. It just doesn't have a plot whatsoever. The slightest hints of a plot indicates that Adam Sandler's character of Lenny has moved his family back to his hometown along with his friends who've done exactly the same, and they spend one day acting like children again. That's it. They meet up with these guys at the swimming hole. One of them played by Emilio Ventimiglia and the other one played by Taylor Lautner, who are complete boneheads. Here's a clip.
Look at this. Beers on ice. Hot ladies everywhere. This is how we used to do it.
This is Kappa Eta Sigma property.
Who?
So you might want to quit perving on our ladies and get back to your trailer homes.
Okay, easy there, Abercrombie.
Haven't been around this many arrogant white college kids since Eminem played Duke.
At least we got into college, Skinny Danny Glover.
That's rock, paper, scissors.
I think it's over.
Hey! What? A little extra right there. Hey, fellas, that was a good handshake. We got a good one, too. It goes like this. Okay, here we go.
Oh, how you doing, sir?
Very good, sir.
Oh, man.
So I've just said the plot there. You've got the people from the original film who's in this. Kevin James, Chris Rock, David Spade. And then you've got other people, Salma Hayek, who plays Adam Sandler's wife, Maya Rudolph, you've got Steve Buscemi in there, John Lovitz, Shaquille O'Neal, who should be ashamed of himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh.
And
honestly,
this movie outdid Pacific Rim at the US box office.
I was just going to say about that, that's why I have such a disdain for it, even though I haven't seen this movie. I really have a hatred for it.
I don't know how it managed to do that. Why people thought going to see Grown Ups 2 was much better than going to see Pacific Rim is completely beyond me. They might have thought, oh, we might get a few laughs. These are probably the same people who went to see Jack and Jill, thinking that Adam Sandler is going to actually finally star in a film where he'll re-resurrect his career. That will never ever happen. He has no career. He's just a useless actor. He thinks he's funny. In this movie, he doesn't go down the major gross-out route. He doesn't do the typical Adam Sandler thing where he puts on loads of voices, etc. The funniest thing about this movie is in the trailer where you see a deer peeing on them. That joke is done 3 times in the first 5 minutes. There is jokes in this movie which are reused constantly over and over again. There's the stereotypical black guy joke where they just go, what? And that's used like several times during the movie. It's more funnier coming out of a minion than it is coming out of these. When the minions do it, it is funny. Because they've got the higher pitch voice. Rather than, what? And you just, honestly, I was watching this movie and I'm thinking to myself, if I don't get out the cinema right now, I'm just going to start killing people. I felt like I wanted to do that. I would have been done for mass murder if I wasn't actually literally glued to my seat because somebody stuck glue on my seat. That's the reason I'm going with. But it is really bad. It's beyond bad. It's worse than the original. It's not the worst film I've seen this year, because that still goes to movie 43, because that's deplorable beyond deplorable.
Oh, yeah.
But this is definitely in my top 5 worst films of the year. And when Andy sees it on DVD, if he gets a single laugh out of the movie, then it's deemed a success. Because honestly, there is no laughs in this movie at all. It's just, it's horrible, horrible. And I'm not even going to use the C word. I have to
admit, I laughed once at the trailer.
And what part was that?
The I was inside you joke.
Yeah, that's the bit where he jumps off the cliff and he goes, I was inside you for a second. Yeah, that's not funny. Just me.
It was in the trailer.
It's not in the film. But yeah, the film itself is just awful. It's terrible. Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. We will be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show. If you're listening to us on other places like iTunes, or listen to us back on Spreaker or YouTube, please leave us a comment, please leave us a rating, tell us what you think of the show. If we're doing a good job, let us know. We need feedback, because that's the only way we're actually going to know if we're doing things right or we're screwing things up every single week. Just tell us if we are doing right or wrong, and we will be back in a moment.